Woo! What is going on, yo? It's your boy RickyMoto. Welcome back to yet another video. Look how beautiful it is out today. Woo! I'm in this abandoned parking lot right now, and there's some workers behind me, so I don't know if I'm gonna get kicked out. But yeah, I decided that I'm gonna be creating this new series for the channel on how to ride a motorcycle. I feel like this series is gonna be really beneficial for a lot of new riders because that is a majority of the people on this channel. You know, this channel is mainly focused on Yamaha R3 content, which is a beginner bike, and a lot of people watch this channel as new riders. And I also get a lot of DMs from people on Instagram stating that, you know, they want to get their first bike, they're looking into the R3, they asked me about the MSF course. So hopefully in this video, I can teach you guys how to ride, so, you know, it'll be a lot easier. So when you do go take that MSF course, which I highly recommend, it'll be a lot easier because that's what I did. You know, when I first started riding, I took the MSF course, but before I took the MSF course, I watched a whole bunch of videos on how to ride so I can get an idea of it before I did it. I don't suggest watching this video and skipping the MSF course and be like, oh, I got this. But I just wanted to give you guys some basics in this video. That's the first episode on, you know, all the different parts of the motorcycle that you should know, what each, you know, thing does and where the controls are at. So yeah, I'm not gonna be doing riding necessarily in this video, but I'm gonna just show you guys all the parts and what you should know. So let me get off the bike and talk about it a little bit. So here we have my 2021 Yamaha R3. It's been fully modified with carbon fiber panels, full system exhaust, also tuned so it shoots flames and crackles and burbles and all sorts of crazy. Doesn't matter what kind of bike you get, whether it's a supermoto, super sport, or sports bike, yada yada yada. If you're getting a Grom or whatever, the concept is more or less the same. So yeah, let's go through the parts in no specific order. I'm just gonna start with the front. This is your ignition. So a lot of motorcycles, they might be different, but like for most bikes, this is how it works. If your steering wheel or the steering column of the handlebars is turned to the left, you can actually put the key in, and if you push it down with some force and turn it left, that actually locks your handlebars. So as you can see, it doesn't really move. I do that all the time whenever I park my bike. That way no one can steal it. Motorcycle thefts are a pretty common thing. And then if you push it down and turn it to the right one time, it releases the lock so the steering column can move. And to actually turn the bike on, it's not like a car where you just, you know, turn the key and it starts up. When you turn the key to all the way to the right, that turns on the ignition or the electric. So, you know, your dash comes on, all the information shows up. The actual way to start your bike is right over here on the switch. Now this can depend on the type of bike you have. This is a kill switch and the ignition switch all in one. Some bikes have it separately where the kill switch is one and then there's a little ignition down here. I'm not going to start the bike up right now, but you get the gist. You want to turn it on, click the button, bada bing bada boom. Now when you do turn the bike on, make sure that you're either in the gear neutral, or if you are in gear like me, in first gear, I hold the clutch in when I start it and hold the clutch completely, because when you have the bike in gear and the engine is on, it'll lurch forward or stall. It doesn't do anything. It's just, you know, to hold your hand. This lever over here is called your clutch lever. All right, so the clutch is what actually disengages the power from the engine to the wheel. That's actually what you use to change gears, or if you need to just start rolling or start your bike up. The clutch typically has a nice sort of weight to it, so as you pull it, you can actually feel like this backwards pressure, kind of like a spring. And there's an actuation point that, you know, also depends on the bike or how the clutch is actually adjusted. Now on the other side, this handle over here, this is your throttle. So this is what gives it gas when you pull it forward like that. And then the lever on top of here is your front brake. So there are two brakes. There's a front brake and a rear brake. So I'm going to show you guys where the rear brake is. It's actually on the right side of the bike on your right foot. So as you can see, moving on to the right side of the bike, this is where your foot peg is. This is where your right foot rests on. And then this lever down here is your rear brake. So the way the brakes work is the front brake has more stopping power than the rear brake. That's because all the weight is shifted to the front when you're stopping. On top of that, a lot of bikes, the front caliper, the front disc is, or the rotor, so to speak, is actually bigger than the rear. And so you get more of your stopping power from the front. And when you do brake, you want to use both of the brakes in the same time. And I like to start with the rear first and then the front. That way it's a lot smoother. If you just slam on the rear brake without using the front, that's how you lock up the wheel or skid, no matter if you have ABS. This bike has ABS, and if I slam on the rear brake, the wheel is still going to skid. Same goes with the front. If you just slam on the front brake without the back brake, what's gonna happen is the bike's gonna freaking tip over or flip. So, you know, be careful, don't do that. So moving on to the left side of the bike, we have the foot peg over here. We have another lever. This is actually your gear shifter. Have you heard of the saying, 1 down, 5 up? That's literally how it works. So right now I'm in gear 1, so the lever is already down as much as it can go. Whenever I park my bike, I like to leave it in gear because that way it doesn't roll. When you park your bike in neutral, you know, the wheels can free spin. So if you're on a hill or something, no matter if you're on a kickstand, it can just roll away. So I always park it in gear. That's a good rule of thumb. So the way the gears work is, one is at the very bottom, two is actually 2 clicks up. So in between the first and second gear is where the neutral gear is. If you want to put the bike in neutral from the first gear, you just want to click it up halfway and you'll feel a little bit of a bump. Once you let go of that bump, you're in neutral. Same thing if you're in second gear. If you want to go down to neutral instead of going down to first, you can just hit it down halfway and you feel a little bump or something, and then you're in neutral. Now let's say you're in first gear and you want to shift to second gear because you're actually moving. When you pull the lever up, you have to make sure you pull it all the way up till the very top. Otherwise, you end up what they call a false neutral, meaning you're trying to go into second gear, but you didn't hit it all the way up. You only hit it halfway because you feel the actuation at the halfway point, and people think you're in second gear, and then when they start accelerating, you're neutral and you're just driving the hell out of your bike. So that's a little tricky thing I noticed with a lot of new riders. They get confused, and if you do it fast, it'll kind of feel like one, but you get the gist. Just try to go all the way up if you're intentionally trying to go into second gear, and then from there on, you don't have to worry about it. From third, fourth, fifth, it's just a light click up. I haven't really seen any automatic bikes out there, but most motorcycles, if they're gas powered, they are manual. Some more basics about the bike that you want to know is this is where your gas tank is. So the way you open your gas tank is there's a little door that you open up like that, and typically you want to take your key, you insert it, and you turn it to the right, and you could feel like a little spring unlock, and it just comes right up forward. And when you're filling up your gas, you can see there's actually like 2 little metal beams in there. So that is your max fill line. So as you're filling it up, once it touches that or right below it, that's when you know you should stop. You put it down, make sure you turn it to the right, push it down and turn to the left, pull the key out, close the door. Now some bikes, depending on what model, the back seat usually is also a trunk space. Some of them have the key over here, some of them is right on the bottom. Mine is kind of on the side. So typically same concept, you put the key into the hole, you turn it to the right, and you should be able to just lift your seat. Now this little trunk space doesn't carry much, but this is where I keep my registration and my insurance. Your turn signals is down here, as you can see with the marker indicator left and right. So usually there's this little knob over here. If you pull it to the left like that, the left signal will indicate. Same thing with the right side. If you just flick it to the right signal will indicate. Now the thing is, this is not like a car where after you make the turn, the indicator will automatically turn off. You actually have to manually turn it off. So the way you do that is you actually can push this button inward, and that cancels it. So left, right, inward to cancel. Motorcycles will have their low beam on 24/7, and if you wanted to put your high beam on, you just flick this up. Now this over here is a little trigger, which is like a high beam flash. If I'm on my low beam setting and I want to just go like a just flash people, that's what that's for. Now when you do nighttime riding, I suggest leaving your high beams on all the time. I'd say the low beam is pretty weak for the most part. It's kind of like your daytime running lights, and your high beam is like a regular beam on your car. So it's a great safety feature to always leave your high beams on. Now mirrors, I have one folded up, one's folded down. These are aftermarket, so they look a little bit different from what you're typically used to on a motorcycle. Something to know about motorcycle mirrors as a whole is that you don't get a lot of visibility. A lot of times what you see in the mirror is actually like your arm or your shoulder. So when you change lanes, you always want to turn your head to double check your blind spot rather than just relying off the mirror like you can on a car. But yeah, that's basically all the basics on a motorcycle that you should know before you start riding. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video and jump into the next episode where I start to talk about the basics of riding and how to get started. If you guys are liking this video so far, make sure to drop a like and comment below if you have any questions. With that being said, it's your boy RickyMoto, and I'll see you in the next episode.